Hello and welcome to Module 8, where we are going to look at digital agencies and uh, creative concepts, how they're different and how they can share a lot of the same fundamentals. So, what is writing for digital? Well, we could just call it writing for digital, or we could call it not writing for the web, not writing banner ads or social media or Internet of Things or anything else. We can simply focus on the idea that writing for digital is indeed still writing for people. So, for digital copywriters, what is digital advertising? Well, it's kind of a simple and tricky question. Digital advertising is anything that isn't seen on TV. So, it's not a TV commercial. It's not something that is also an ad in a print magazine or newspaper. It's not outdoor billboard, it's not radio, it's not flyers, it's not mail. Writing, digital copywriting is not any of those. You'll see digital copywriting taking effect on all kinds of platforms. They're being updated constantly. And some you're very familiar with, some perhaps you're not, and some maybe have gone out of business by the time you're viewing this. Who knows? But in spite of the uniqueness of some of these platforms, they still affect and are affected by all the other aspects that we've already discussed in copywriting for digital media, video, television broadcast, radio, audio, streaming, etc. And it is a truly a connected web of great strategies and great ideas that make up digital writing. Now, quick review, we talked about the traditional roles within an agency. You've got the creative director, and you've got the designer, and of course, you've got the copywriter. Now, in a digital agency, those roles expand, and you've got, in addition to the creative director, writer, and designer, you've got the strategist, uh, the developer, the user experience person, which, even though there are more people involved, it becomes a bit harder for the writer, the copywriter. The copywriter for digital elements tends to be like a shepherd, as you see in this illustration. The writer's right in the middle. The writer becomes the shepherd, having to kind of tend to all these different ideas and somehow synthesize, incorporate, or push back on some ideas and come up with a solid idea that works against that creative work plan that is so important on so many projects. So let's talk about the work. What makes digital copywriting the same as other works that we've discussed? Well, the good news is it still looks for that great balance between strategic thinking and inspired creative. And that doesn't change at all. And if you think about copywriting for digital, it's the same as copywriting for electronic media in the sense that you have to look at the technology and you have to live with it. For example, radio has no pictures, so you have to uh, um, master that, being able to basically tap into the theater of the mind. Um, just like that is a technology, so are the digital platforms that are up and coming and some that are established. We just have more different technologies to work with. Well, what makes the work different, though, for a digital copywriter? Well, the fact that there are so many technologies to consider and so many nuances of platforms, that's one thing, but one of the things that makes it so different is that for the first time, um, the consumer is nearly continually connected to what you're writing, or could be connected to what you are writing. They literally have your work in the palm of their hands. And while that's a big deal, and it's exciting to think you can influence and communicate with people right at that one-to-one level, the audience for the what you're creating is very savvy and very impatient and not terribly interested in anything that you want to say. They are interested in things that they can talk about. Some of the tricky aspects of that understanding the digital sphere is, like, what devices do the consumer targets use, and where do they spend their time online? When and where will they be most receptive? And it can be a little daunting. Becomes very, very complicated. For example, this ecosystem, if you think about sort of a traditional store and how they actually communicate nowadays, the vast ecosphere of opportunities to connect with the consumer, it's mind numbing. Where do you start when you have so many places to sort of consider and to address? Well, just the good old key insight can really simplify where you start. The key insight we've worked on with the creative work plan, which is that consumer facing solution to a very specific problem. Now, let's look at some different types of digital copywriting. This is an ad for Geico that pretends to be, they call it an unskippable ad. And their key insight understanding Geico's is that viewers, their potential customers, are busy. And they're really not interested in watching a commercial before watching the video they looked up to share with their friends. And this fits really well into Geico's brand of 15 minutes or less. Or 15 minutes will get you a great deal on insurance. People are in a hurry and they don't want to waste time. Interestingly enough, Geico found a really kind of brilliant way to acknowledge that people are impatient to get through an ad and yet have them still watch the entire ad. And there's a link to this ad below this presentation, and I encourage you to watch the entire thing. Here's a different kind of digital copywriting, which is an emoji of a piece of pizza, a slice of pizza. Even though there are no words there, this was concepted and created in part, certainly, by a copywriter. And this is from Domino's, and they generated a lot of excitement. They created a way that you can literally order a pizza on Twitter by tweeting this pizza emoji. And you have to sign up for it, but the brilliant thing about this is it's effortless once you've signed up for it. You basically get a pre-designed pizza with whatever toppings you want simply by tweeting this. And the benefit to Domino's is the rest of the world knows that you're enjoying a Domino's pizza. Now, this is also, you could call this a digital copywriting, brilliant copywriting solution. This is a physical billboard in a public space and in Stockholm. And basically, there's a camera, a speed camera there, and there's some Reebok's shoes locked in this case. And the challenge is if you can run past this ad faster than 17 kilometers per hour, it's about roughly 10.5 miles per hour, the case will unlock and you can get yourself a brand new pair of Reebok shoes. This very effective and very share worthy. It's so much more than just a passive billboard. It's a great digital, interactive, engaging way. And again, this was created in part by a digital copywriter. This is a radio station. It's also a mosquito repellent in Brazil, I believe. On behalf of Go Outside magazine, the agency broadcasts from 6 to 8 p.m. every night for a week. Great music, but they also broadcast a specific frequency, a tone that's all but inaudible to humans, but to mosquitoes, that frequency sounds like uncomfortably like a dragonfly, which is one of the mosquito's natural enemies. So they avoided wherever the speakers were because of that tone. It brilliantly used that key insight that readers of Go Outside magazine, like to go outside, and they enable them to go outside at the peak mosquito time if they played that radio station, which conveniently had advertisements for Go Outside magazine. This is a tweet from Old Spice, and Old Spice, we've seen some commercials from them. They love to connect with consumers in surprising ways, and have a lot of fun with understanding what their consumers like and how they like to react, and just sort of the fun that they enjoy, while totally engaging them every step of the way. So they sent out this very simple tweet: how many fingers am I holding up? And then somebody tweeted 5. And so, boom, they just nearly immediately sent out a picture with 5 fingers. And then somebody else tweeted out 14. And almost just as fast, they tweeted out a hand with 14 fingers. And then, it continues from there. Somebody said Inception. And of course, there was a hand on a hand on a hand on a hand. And basically, Old Spice had a team of designers and some pre-thought ideas or things that they thought people may tweet out, plus designers to create anything nearly instantly on demand. And they just had a blast. And they just went from chicken fingers and on and on and on. Now, did it sell Old Spice directly? Did it say now on sale? Did it say, hey, Old Spice smells like fresh sea, whatever? Not necessarily, but that's not what they wanted to do here for this digital media. They wanted to find a way to totally engage consumers and help consumers understand that Old Spice as a brand stands with them in how they feel and think and play. Speaking of play, when this is true in all forms of copywriting, but in digital copywriting, it is especially true. So the work is like, look for ways to tell stories. It's also key to understand the technology that you're up against. Sometimes there are great ideas are turned on a simple fact of being able to leverage some basic technology. And as before, it's a great way to extend or even come up with some big ideas. Nearly always invites participation. It solves problems for consumers. It creates new platforms, even innovative new platforms like the Nike app is essentially a platform created as a result of some digital copywriting concepts. It's also important to bend the rules and also play. And most of the examples you'll see here are able to bend rules and have fun and play. And the benefit of that is consumers like it and they react well to it. A few other things, some recent trends to consider for digital copywriting that are a challenge as much as a solution. Live streaming, which is basically broadcasting to the world from an individual. How do you write for that? And if you look at the various um, experiments and projects, I don't think anybody knows how to write for it particularly well, but coming up with the concepts of when and why to live stream, again, that's part of digital copywriting. Content marketing has been around for a long time, and that continues to be king for a lot of brands. Content marketing is essentially you create and share material online that may or may not necessarily have anything directly to do with your brand. It certainly fits with your brand, but it's not necessarily advertising something. It's just associating helpful uh, information or pass along uh, uh, fun, you name it, uh, that somehow it gets associated with your brand. Like this, a sausage company actually teamed up with the comedy site Clickhole for some branded interactive comedy. So it was even beyond sponsored material. It was actually part of the Clickhole experience. So that branded entertainment is something that you may enjoy, and you may not even know that you're being uh, advertised to. Other trends up and coming that involve digital copywriting, virtual reality, helping people be basically immersing themselves in an experience, whether it's live or totally branded or sponsored by. That is a trend in digital copywriting, as is omni-channel. Simply put, omni-channel is seamless communication. Um, it's a way to have consistent communication and connection with the consumer, whether they're in the store, at home, online. Having that brand experience be similar no matter where or when is the idea of omni-channel. And then how does digital communication fit in with that seamless communication? Internet of Things, even that is going to require digital copywriting to, again, keep the consistent experience uh, in spite of that fractured notion of everything is different and connected. All right, so enough of me. Now it's your turn, because hopefully, as you've seen from these examples, the goal of digital copywriting is, again, to be true to the brand, be true to the creative work plan, but the opportunity to play and be innovative and sort of bend the rules and think outside of the box are greater than they ever have been before. So I want you to have a look at the assignment and the creative work plan, and the objective is to create concept, some fun interactive approaches, and you can read more in the brief. But I encourage you, just have fun and think big, and have a blast. All right, thanks a lot.